It's a whole new world we live in. It's a whole new place to see. It's VGC, the video game podcast with me, Jordan Midler, and Chris Scullion. This week, WB makes a Doug's arse of it. Tony Hawk is officially, kind of, back, and it's Pokemon Day. But first, how's it going, Chris?
It's going good. I liked how before we recorded this, you said you didn't want to early on say WB shits the bed, and then went with makes a Doug's arse of it, which is significantly better. But there we go.
Yeah, it's comedy swearing. It's classic Scots, you know. It's Billy Connolly, Big
Billy, one of the boys.
Back doing it the Clyde side, you know, doing building the ships.
Doing the shipyards, back in the day.
That's brilliant.
That's when everybody knew each other, so it was.
Tell Andy's not in this pod. It's just going to be an hour of this.
Well, Paul, I mean, I'd hate to be anyone who isn't Scottish this week. Well, anytime really, but especially this week, because obviously earlier this week we posted a special podcast with Christopher McCaffrey-Boyd, which has already had some people in the comments saying they just couldn't understand it at all. One particularly mean comment, which I keep meaning to delete. Which was where someone just
air your grievances here. Let's do it.
Where someone just wrote, let's find sort by news. Someone just called it a nonsensical black hole of a show.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're probably going to get the same again today because again you've got Scots only.
Well, if you're interested in nonsensical black holes of shows, patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle, because there's actually a little extended version of the CMB podcast up there. There's all our traditional monthly nonsense, and coming pretty soon. As soon as maybe next week, maybe the following week, there will be some footage of me and Chris Scullion playing a game together. And as far as I'm aware, that's all I can say. In fact, no, I can say what it is because people have posted when the review is going live. Soon enough, you'll be able to see some footage of Chris Scullion and I playing Split Fiction. I don't know if this reads on the camera, but I'm holding a Split Fiction notebook here.
It's very similar to the Pulp Fiction font.
Do you think that's what they're trying to do?
I don't know. Probably not, but...
Wee-woo. That's not Pulp Fiction.
Kill Bill,
that's Kill Bill, yeah. It's
Pulp Fiction.
Don't know, haven't seen it. Oh, Chris, let me tell you. Speaking of pictures, went to the pictures last night to see Attack on Titan, The Last Attack, which was... the final final 3 episodes of Attack on Titan, which have been out for multiple years, but now they've strung them together into a film and put them in the cinema. So the other day, me and my partner are sitting and we're going, oh yeah, we're going to see The Last Attack. And I was like, make sure it's the dubbed version, as in English voices. Like, I've watched the entire series in English. I know this is how the characters are meant to sound. I'm like, okay, right, that's fine. Get into the cinema, Chris. And a little Japanese text pops up on the screen, and underneath it says "State of the End." There's more footage, and I thought, okay, maybe they just didn't adapt that, and this is the only part.
Gone Japanese.
Immediately Japanese. 2.5 hours of Japanese, and look, I love Japan. I love the Japanese people. Shout out to our 1, potentially 2 Japanese listeners. But it was jarring when you were expecting to have an evening of dubbed, and then suddenly you're right. I need to lock in. I mean, I've already seen it. I know what happens, but I need to lock in here.
Yeah. See, I get that. I mean, given the choice, I would go subbed over dubbed. But I appreciate that if you've watched the entire thing with one way, you want to kind of stick that out to the end instead of a wee shift at the last minute. So I get that.
Let me tell you, fantastic though, so good. Some of the best action in anything I've ever seen, and the little bit they added at the end was good. So Attack on Titan: The Last Attack gets 5 big booms from VGC. But yeah, highlight though, I got a cinema hot dog, which I don't know what they do to the hot dogs in the cinema, but they're bon anniversaire, as the French would say. They are
they're happy birthday.
They are fantastic. Chris, you mentioned that you might have an energy drink for us.
I do. I had to scour the spreadsheet brilliantly provided by one of our patrons because
thank you, Sam. Official energy drink archive.
I've totally lost count of which ones we've done and haven't done anymore. But I was in Home Bargains the other day, and I found Dynamo, which
very good
tropical flavored Dynamo, which apparently contains energy and BCAAs, and I can never remember what that is. But is that not like the weapons in Resident Evil. I'm pretty sure a BCA
Dynamo energy drink, it makes your stomach disappear. Is it actually associated with?
I don't think it's associated
the magician
with Dynamo with the Man of Mystery. But
I nearly called him a wizard there. He's a magician. To be fair, he's not a wizard. He's
I nearly said soothsayer, but that's completely wrong. That's not how to do it. The description just simply says tropical flavour carbonated drink with caffeine, amino acids, and sweeteners. So it's almost certainly going to be absolutely gamphin.
That's all you need.
Well, true. It's made in Manchester, so.
Made in Manchester. That's kind of
very much like Liverpool, isn't it?
Yeah, Manchester. When I do Liverpool, I go into this. The only people that come to Liverpool are Stephen Gerrard and the Beatles.
When you do Liverpool, you do that unless you say the word Manchester, in which case it's a very different.
Manchester.
This is more Oasis, isn't it?
Yeah. Chris is imbibing. Dynamo is fluids. Oh, it's not an immediately great reaction.
It certainly isn't. And it's not a subsequently great reaction either. No, that's very bad. You can instantly tell it's quite chemical. The aftertaste hits you immediately. It's not just it's not an aftertaste, it's just a taste. Yeah, that's really not good. Yeah, there is a tropical flavour there, but that's substandard at best. I've tried, even like Asda's own Red Bull knockoff is significantly cheaper than that and significantly better. So luckily I've got a backup Iron Brew Extra, which I'll continue to imbibe for the rest of the show, I think.
Well, Chris, if you want cheered up, maybe you should try some Celsius Live Fit Cosmic Vibe, which I picked up from the Jet Garage. This is a sparkling fruit burst flavour. Essential energy, 7 vitamins, natural flavours. Celsius powers active lives every day. Stay active and refreshed with Celsius by your side. Living fit is not just about fitness, it's a mindset. It's a lifestyle embodied by those who push through the last set to make the most of every day. So,
can I just point out that living fit absolutely is just about fitness by definition.
Yeah. This is what I appreciate. So on the back, it gives you your recommended intakes and what this can provides. So if you're looking for biotin, which is B7, one can gives you 298% of your daily B7, which I mean more than enough. Vitamin B12, 240, B6, 152. See, Chris, I know you're always saying I need more pantothenic acid in my life. B5.
I'm sick of telling you that.
One can of this, 167% of your daily. So wait
a minute, what do these vitamins do? Before we start, we always say, read out all these things and we don't. So B7 is needed to metabolize fats. What's the other one it's got too much of? B6?
It's got a lot of vitamin B12.
B12 keeps your body making DNA and red blood cells. So your nervous system.
DNA. I'm like Venom. I can just shoot out DNA. That's what Venom does. He shoots out DNA.
But thankfully, none of them are like fiber. Do you know what I mean? Because that's like you don't want ones that are just absolutely red. An attack on your titan, so to speak.
Yeah.
You don't
want a bottle of Raisin Bran. This one does come with quite severe warnings. High caffeine content, not recommended for children or pregnant or breastfeeding women or persons sensitive to caffeine. We recommend a maximum of 1 can a day. You're not on the right podcast, brother. Enjoy as part of a varied and balanced diet and a healthy lifestyle. You're not on the right podcast, brother. Usage together with alcohol is not recommended. You're not on the right podcast, brother. Best served cold. Enjoy on day of opening. Well, it's a tiny wee can, so I'm not exactly going to
enjoy
put this back into the cellar.
Enjoy it on day of opening. Hate it 3 days later.
Oh, it's quite nice. Quite light, not very carbonated. When I'm pumping iron at the gym, when I'm throwing down a set, I can see myself popping open Celsius Live Fit Cosmic Vibe.
The obvious response to that is, who is iron? But yeah.
A lucky fella. Okay, let's get into it. Number 1, Monolith closed, Wonder Woman dead, God rest her. Warner Brothers Games is closing 3 internal development studios and cancelling its Wonder Woman game. Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War studio Monolith Productions is shutting, and the development of the Wonder Woman game is being axed. That's according to a friend of the show, Jason Schreier. Sources also claimed, and this was later confirmed, that Multiversus Studio, Player First Games, and Mobile Focus Studio WB San Diego are also closing down. WB sent this to Ethan Gatch. Quote, we've had to make some very difficult decisions to structure our development studios and investments around building the best games possible with our key franchises, Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. After careful considerations, we're closing 3 of our development studios, those previously mentioned ones. This is a strategic change in direction and not a reflection of these teams or the talent that consists within them. The development of Monolith's Wonder Woman video game will not move forward. Chris, this is a joke. I can understand. I mean, it would have been a real shame if it was just player first, but I could understand how that happens after Multiverses was a bit of a disaster. But to shut down Monolith, a studio that produced not only one amazing action adventure game, one pretty good one, and created a system that fans ask other studios desperately to make their own version of. I just think it's a real black mark in what has been a bin fire of WB recently.
It's absolute shambles. I mean, for a few years now, it just seems like it's just been bad news. It's been coming out there. The exception of Hogwarts, which did well. And Mortal Kombat obviously was really good, but Mortal Kombat is its own thing. It's always really good. Other than that, they've been making a complete arse of it, like from start to finish. They obviously heard my jibe yesterday that Wonder Woman had gone woke because they put a woman in it. And that's clearly purely because of what I said. They didn't realise it was a joke and they've then cancelled it. So sorry about that.
You did this. They actually took down Multiverses because of that. They were like, we weren't going to, but see that Chris Scullion, that guy still plays it.
That guy loves Multiverses. Let's take away what he loves most in life. So yeah, the thing's a shambles. Like the Monolith, such a studio with such a fantastic history, and even the fact that Warner Brothers patented, depending on how you want to pronounce it, that the Nemesis system was a joke in itself, because that locks that out from anyone else to use. And now it's all essentially dead now that Monolith's gone. By all accounts, what was being created for Wonder Woman, the people who have seen it and worked on it said it was looking fantastic. But we'll never know unless something leaks in the future. And the closing the player first is just, like you say, it was expected because Multiverses was on its arse, but they only just bought them like a few months ago. And then just went, all right, see you later. Instead, if it was pretty clear a while back that the writing was on the wall for Multiverses, they could have just not bought them and let someone else take them. Because I'd love to have seen them move over to a Sega and done like a Sega version of that, because the game itself was fantastic, but it was clearly made by a team who knew their shit and were really cared about the game they were making. The actual fighting mechanics were fantastic. Some of the references and in jokes in it were superb, but it was built around this horrendous structure, which almost certainly didn't come from them, and was come from encouragement to jam live services into it, which is
since this story's come out. Jason was on Kind of Funny talking about the whole situation a bit more. So apparently after Shadow of War, which was the second Lord of the Rings game, the team started working on a new IP, and it was a kind of push and pull where Warner very much didn't want to make a new IP for anything, but the leads over at Monolith were like, this is what we're doing. So then eventually when that was cancelled, all the leads left and formed a new studio with EA. So the team behind Wonder Woman was a team that was being made, and the leadership was kind of in flux. And apparently they announced they started development on that game in summer 2021 and announced it at the Game Awards the same year. So when we used to make jokes about how all that exists of that Wonder Woman game was that video, at that point that pretty much was all that existed of the Wonder Woman game. Apparently at the end of last year, the game was rebooted because the Nemesis system wasn't quite working, which I don't understand how you mess up the Nemesis system. Yeah. But apparently it was rebooted into more of a traditional kind of God of War game, and then obviously this happened. The future doesn't look bright for Warner Brothers. We'll get a Hogwarts Legacy 2 in the next couple of years, no doubt, because that game sold incredibly well. But it's not even as if Harry Potter stuff is a golden snitch, if you will, to use a now cursed reference, because that Quidditch Champions game, which this is how big a deal we thought Quidditch Champions was going to be from a pure business perspective. When that trailer appeared at Summer Game Fest, Andy leaned over to me and went, "Guys, because Hogwarts Legacy was a huge hit for this website in terms of like people interested in it. And that Harry Potter, that Quidditch game, first of all, pish game, and then second of all, especially, and do you remember the EA Quidditch game that they did for the PS2?
I remember it existed. I've never been a Harry Potter guy, but I remember its presence.
This was at the peak of my Pottermania, when it was like the first couple of films, and I was like the perfect age for it. So I played that game to death, and I thought, okay, this is going to be something like this. That Quidditch game is always one of the top games that is played on the N-Gage, to use this podcast's parlance. It's up there with like Hit and Run and stuff like that. People love that game, but that game was pish. It was like you were paying like £25 to get Ginny Weasley in a new costume and shit like that. It was just microtransactions out the arse. So they have their Harry Potter RPG, which will continue to do well. Mortal Kombat will do well, because as long as Ed's at the helm, I don't have any worries about Mortal Kombat.
No.
And DC Game of Thrones is a weird one, because I know Game of Thrones has that spin-off, the House of the Dragons or whatever, but how did they get through 7 seasons of Game of Thrones without putting out a proper... They did do one Game of Thrones game, but a proper massive Game of Thrones RPG? That seems inconceivable.
I'll tell you what, if I was working at Rocksteady just now, I would be shiting myself. Yeah. Because by all accounts, they're working on a new Batman or something. Yeah. But Warner Brothers' statement says we're working on our key franchises. We're focusing on our key franchises: Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. The last time I checked, Wonder Woman was in DC, unless DC now stands for Disney count. Because on you go.
According to Schreier yesterday, it was because Greg was obviously like, when are they making a Superman game? And he was saying that when Warner Brothers say DC, they literally just mean Batman these days. So maybe Rocksteady's okay, but
at the same time, you wonder what this Batman game is going to look like, and whether there's going to be pressure again for them to do a Suicide Squad and jam shite into it that people don't want, specifically seasons and skins and stuff like that. And it's a very dangerous game being played just now. And if the new Batman game is finally released and there is a shred of a currency in there, that game is doomed, and potentially the studio. I mean, it was ridiculous to think that Monolith would ever go. And now they're gone. So while it may at this point be ridiculous to think that Rocksteady could go at some point, the way Warner Brothers are acting just now, they're one bad release away from being in danger, I think.
Yep. I think if Rocksteady didn't have the "we can do Batman again" thing, they would have been shut as well. What the thing that's weird to me is, like, Hogwarts Legacy doesn't have all that season stuff. They didn't do any DLC for it. There was like a couple of skins that you got if you bought the deluxe edition, but absolutely everyone does that. Like, that was a single player RPG that done incredibly well, didn't have all the season pish in it. Now we'll see what the second one is like, if that's something that they double down on and try and get their money back there. But it seems like they should just be saying, okay, Rocksteady, you've not got a million years to do this. You've not got the 10 years it took you to do Suicide Squad. You've got a couple of years to do like a 15 to 30 hour Batman game. You can do whatever you want with it. You can, as long as it's Batman. Like, obviously they don't have Kevin Conroy anymore, God rest him. Mark Hamill's probably done playing the Joker. I think he even said that he's not going to play the Joker since Kevin Conroy's away, so like they don't have that. Do like Batman Beyond. There's so many Batman stories that they could adapt, and we're missing a really good Batman game. The biggest streamer in the world, that Kai Cenat guy, just played all of the Batman games back to back, and it's blown up. And there's so many people being like, "Oh, I love these games! Like, these games used to come out all the time. What happened after Arkham Knight?" And it's like, well, mate, I'm sorry, lads, but you grew up in the Xbox 360 era where you would get 3 entire entries in a series in one generation and not get one and then wait till a new console comes out before you get the next one. It's a terrible, terrible situation.
Shambles. It's a shambles, and I don't know. I don't think it's going to get better. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's Warner Brothers is. I know I've seen those people keep pointing the finger at this David Zaslav guy, and he's obviously not doing great things. But a lot of these decisions were made before he came aboard. This isn't just one man who's demolishing this games department. Like, the Suicide Squad was going to have microtransactions before he turned up. So this is a kind of rotten from numerous angles, and it's not just one guy responsible for it. It's not good.
It's not good at all. Story number 2. Pokemon Presents Roundup. On Thursday, there was the Pokemon Presents to celebrate Pokemon Day. The biggest things, Legends ZA gameplay, the announcement of Pokemon Champions, and a few other bits and pieces. Firstly, Pokemon Champions, we didn't see much of it, but this is going to be basically a game that is focused on the battles. It's going to be like a battle simulator almost. You bring your it's almost like Stadium. You bring your Pokemon from the other games in and you battle. Chris, to me, the first thing I thought is, this is what they're going to start using at the championships rather than using Scarlet and Violet. This is like basically their kind of esport hub, and it's kind of long overdue at this point.
Yeah, well, it suits me to a T as well, because that's the one thing that kind of puts me off Pokemon these days, is that if a new Pokemon comes out, I want to play it and beat it and then just get on with my life.
Yeah.
But I then see people going about, but you do this, you do that, you train this, and like people are more interested in the end game, like building up their teams for battling, and I'm getting no interest in battling. If this is a way to kind of separate those two, those two sides of the Pokemon coin, the Poke coin, if you will, which is definitely a thing, then I'm all for that, because let the casuals and the kids enjoy each Pokemon release, play through it, get the credits, move on, and then those who are like properly into the battling side of thing can then, once they've hit the credits, import those Pokemon over to Champions, and then start the kind of the meta game, as I believe the kids call it.
I think
and all that side of things.
I think it also helps from a presentational perspective, because obviously EUIC last weekend, we'll talk about that in a minute, but they're playing on Scarlet and Violet, so these championship matches are happening for literally thousands of pounds, and like 480p like characters are going away in the background. It just looks a bit crap. This is being developed by Pokemon Works, which is a new studio they only just recently set up, which is an offshoot of Game Freak. So, and from the trailer, like they're clearly using like nice models for the Pokemon. So I think this could be pretty cool. Like, I'm not really into the act of battling. Like, I like watching it and I understand it. I like watching people break down their teams, but the kind of 2v2 format, all the kind of minutia that goes into building a team and battling has never been something that grabbed me from a competitive side. I'm all about completing the decks. That is the challenge 100%, for me.
100%, that's me. And that's why I'm happy, because this looks like that will be the focus on the kind of the main series going forward, and the battling will then all be moved to Champions. And it also means they can focus on, it's like when these games like this come out and a new game comes out, you see it with Smash Brothers, you see it with like countless other games. When a brand new entry comes out, people start moaning about the balancing and going, but you've unbalanced this and unbalanced that, and it becomes like a firefighting exercise at that point, when you get a million patches balancing this and balancing that. Then when the new game comes out, it just rinse and repeat. At least if you've got a centralized battle hub where every new game feeds into that, then you only need to balance one set of Pokemon, and you don't need to, and it also means that over time all the Pokemon can be added to that, and you don't need to worry about, the next game's only got 400 in it. What are you fucking? Don't worry, they're all in Champions. If you want them all, you can go. This is the Pokemon who are in this region for the next game. Those are the ones you can catch and play with. If you want the rest, they're all in Champions. You're sorted for that. And also the fact that it's launching on Switch and mobile means there's scope there to scale it out to PC, to Switch to whatever in the future, and continually improve the graphics, but in a scalable way, so that, because it's literally you're just choosing menus essentially. I could be playing on a mobile and you could be playing on Switch 2, or playing on PC with like a ridiculous rig, and we're both playing the same game but seeing a different thing, and that'll be ideal for the championships, because they'll just run it through the most like extremely powerful version available to them at the time. So it's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, I think this is a cool announcement that's maybe not... I think it'll be a weird thing to position, because I don't think there will be much game in there without your own Pokemon. They'll probably do rental teams, like you'll be able to, like with Stadium and like they do in Scarlet and Violet, you'll be able to rent. I don't know. I wonder if there's a single player portion that's like teaching, because they said in the announcement they want to open like the hardcore battling out for more people to understand, which I think they're way overdue to do, because it is hard to understand if you're not got a phone next to you in YouTube. Like, I assume there's some kind of single player, not story mode, but campaign tutorial teaching you a bit more about battling.
also wonder how they're making money from it. Is this going to be an upfront cost, or is this going to be a TCG Pocket situation, maybe, where you can buy like Pokemon that you don't already have?
I think this is £60. I think this is a full price game. Yeah,
or even like a subscription.
Well, it depends what the. Actually, it being on mobile kind of throws me a wee bit, because maybe it is a
because nobody will pay £60 for a mobile game. Is Pokemon Home a subscription?
Yeah, but it's like £2 or £3 a month. It's like,
but do they maybe up that nothing to like a £5 a month and integrate them both potentially? And then if you've got 1 million people using it, that's 5 million a month. That's still not a lot in the grand scheme of things for Pokemon, is it?
What if it comes with the next generation of Pokemon games? Like, it's part of that if you buy the full game, like when they used to do like Pokemon Box and things like that for the GameCube. But it's in development, so we'll see soon something else in development without a release date. Still, somehow, Pokemon Legends ZA. They showed a fair whack of gameplay. I'm so excited for this, Chris. Me and you are Arceus boys through and through. I think the things they're doing in terms of making the wild areas work in the city look great. I think the choice of starters is really good. What do you think of this gameplay?
I'll be honest, I've not went back and watched it, because when Pokemon Presents was on, it was just the two of us covering it, so it was like a typical like manic like battering as much out. So I've not watched it since. Who are the starters? Who are the 3 starters?
It's Chikorita, who was in Gold and Silver, Totodile, who's in Gold and Silver, and Tepig, who was in Black and White.
It's Tepig all day long.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Fire Pokemon all day long.
I'm Totodile all day long. Feraligatr is one of my favourite ever. Feraligatr, a Pokemon whose name was too long for the Game Boy, so they've just misspelled it for the last 30 years, which I love.
Tepig for me, because Tepig, I think I've told this story before, Tepig is directly responsible for the worst decision I've ever made in my professional career.
Tell it again.
I told you again, but for those who didn't hear it, it was at the Pokemon Black and White launch party. And my job that evening as part of our newly launched official Nintendo Magazine YouTube channel was to find something viral that the kids would go crazy for. And at one point there was like a wee dance bit, and a bunch of decks dressed up as a starter Pokemon came out and danced just over and over again. So somebody dressed as Tepig was just like moving his hands up and down, like dancing to some Cheryl Cole song. And I thought, that's internet gold. That's 100%. So I filmed that, like used up a lot of I didn't have a lot of storage at the time, so I used up most of my storage on that. And that's it. I'm done for the night. I can enjoy the rest of the night. There's a band on stage. I'm like, fuck them. I've got my footage. That's what I need. Fast forward, and that Pokemon, that Tepig dancing footage, amazingly didn't do that well. And it turns out the band was One Direction, given their first live performance since leaving X Factor, and that could have got us millions of views. And I completely blanked them, because at the time it was like, these decks finished 4th or something in X Factor. I'm like, nobody cares about them. There's loads of like screaming girls at the front. I'm like, they've paid them to come in. Stuff One Direction, Tepig dancing is the future of the internet. So. Yeah, I don't hold it against Tepig. He'll be my starter.
Yeah, Tepig. It's Evolution Pignite, and it's next Evolution Embor. That's a really good naming convention. The Tepig, the Tepid, Ignite, and Ember. Like that's when those work together. You're like, oh man, these translators at Pokemon know what they're talking about.
I like when they do stuff like Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee, and you're like, oh, yeah. I get it. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
That's
and cool. Then the next one was Hitmontop, and they're like, who's that? Jim Top, famous karate expert. Yeah, I think the wild, as you remember from Pokemon Legends Arceus, the focus was a lot on catching. This seems to have a bit more focus on battling, and there's an interesting new mechanic where both you and your Pokemon are like moving about mid-battle, so it's not turn-based, it's like action battling, which I think could be
kind of Xenoblade.
Kind of, yeah, like your moves have certain range, and it's like it's all real time, so it's going to be interesting to see how they explain that, because Arceus had slightly different battle mechanics. You remember it had like the rapid style moves, and so you could do like 2 moves in a row rather than wait, or 1 move every 3 turns. I like that they're using the Legends game to like experiment with stuff like that, because that never came into Scarlet and Violet, and I doubt that this will come into whatever Generation 10 is, but I'm really, really excited for this. If you go on the website, there is a list of all the Pokemon that are confirmed so far. They've confirmed like 70 or 80 so far, and it's all solid, lads. Mega Evolution is coming back. They've not shown any new Pokemon, which I don't know if they'll wait a while to do. There was a couple of new forms in Arceus, because obviously it was in the Hisui region, so they could get away with like Hisui and Arcanine and Cleavor, which is a full new Pokemon.
It feels like they'll do that again, won't they? It feels like if they're going to ever introduce a new Pokemon, they'll save that for the main series, but they'll be able to add new forms to this, so I don't doubt we'll see, because the whole gimmick is a futuristic city in it, so you imagine you'll get more kind of Pokemon with buildings in their heads.
Yeah. Just random metal Pokemon called Iron John and stuff like that. I want to show you something, Chris. This is a visual aid for anyone that's listening. I went to Pokemon EUIC, and I'm so glad I picked this up. This is a play mat for the Pokemon TCG, but will now be my new mouse mat. Have a look at that.
Oh, it's got a cheeky wee Psyduck on it. It's got... See, this is where I'm going to be exposed for not knowing my Pokemon.
Quagsire
in there. Quagsire's in there. And the big whale thing. That's not a Wailord, is it?
No, it's that brown guy is Clodsire, who is the Paldean cousin of Quagsire. So Pokemon EUIC last weekend. For patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle people, there's a hell of a long vlog coming, but it's taking a while to edit, so just be bloody patient. I can't roll this back up, so it's just getting dunked. The event, which was like the second biggest tournament of the year behind Worlds, took place at XL London. There was the Pokemon Center, which was great. Got everything I wanted. Got Chris Scully a lovely yellow jumper, which fantastic. I'm glad I did, because I've been watching vlogs of people going on. Like, I got that on the Friday for us, and by Friday afternoon, people were like, "Oh yeah, the Psyduck jumper's gone. It's all sold out," and they never had any more for the rest of the weekend. So, get that on eBay. But yeah, it was a fun event. They're kind of changing it into more of a, you know how WrestleMania has WrestleMania Access? I don't even know if they call it Access anymore, but the little kind of festival around the event, they're doing that with Pokemon stuff, which I think is a good move.
It makes sense.
They had artists that drew some of the trading cards to come and do signings. However, getting a wristband to get to that signing was a nightmare. You had to roll a 6. So like you popped a little, what was the name of that game? Where it had like the dice and the plastic shell in the middle, and you hit it and it rolled it. Is it called like Sorry or something like that, or is that?
No, a few of them did that though, but it wasn't frustration or anything like that. But there's a few of those kind of things where you pushed it down, it kind of popped up.
And it pops up. So you had to do that, and if you rolled a 6, you got a wristband to get a poster signed by these amazing artists. So me and Laura went up and did it. She did it. She goes, fucking 4, the daft bastard. Then I go up and I'm like, right, come on, and I twat it as hard as I can. Not that that'll influence I smashed the plastic, change it to a 6 and go, there you go. And I got a 5. And the queue to get back, because you could do it as many times as you wanted in an hour, but the queue to do it was long. So it never transpired, sadly.
Because a loaded die.
Yeah, it was like they have a wee switch underneath. It's like, if it's not a child, make sure it doesn't get a 6. They had, you know how some of the Pokemon cards are like made, the image is like a Pokemon made of plasticine or clay. That is done by an artist called Yukamori, and they had some of her original pieces there, which again you'll see in the vlog, patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle. Yeah, a lovely little weekend of Pokemania. And lovely. Chris, see, so the guy that won the VGC, Wolf Glick, Wolfie as they call him, he's a former world champion. He's a proper pro wrestler of a boy. Everyone who won was getting up and going, "Oh yeah, I would like to thank my family." The typical charisma you'd expect from someone that's like an expert at Pokemon. Wolfie gets up and it's, "Let me tell you something, brother." He cuts a promo. He says, "It's the biggest Pokemon tournament ever. Over 1,400 people tried to get here. They trained, they worked hard, they competed with their friends, they flew over here." And then he goes, "But it wasn't enough." And it was this trophy up. Asshole. What a legend, Wolfie. I love that. I think we need more pro wrestling and everything. So yeah, it was good to see. And I know your Tepig costume might have not been up to snuff, but the mascot costumes they've got these days, they're incredible. they're such high quality. Pikachu looks like a fat wee guy.
I like a good mascot. Like that was one of my favorite things about Japan, is it's just mascots as far as I can see. There's more mascots than people there, which is probably not practical, but
there's actually people in those costumes, Chris, not to spoil the illusion for you.
Come on. Yeah, can't kid a kidder.
Can't kid a kidder.
Absolutely no chance.
More kidding after the break. We'll see you in a minute. And we are back. Story number 3. Mario and Rabbids creator says Ubisoft's sequel comments were, quote, harsh on the team. In a financial update back in 2023, Ubisoft called Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope and Just Dance 2 of the games which failed to meet expectations, and said the sales had been markedly and surprisingly slower than expected. Quote, despite excellent ratings and player reception, as well as ambitious marketing plan, we were surprised by Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope underperformance in the final weeks of 2022 in early January. Co-creator Davide Solani said that the feedback still affected the morale of its development team at Ubisoft Milan. The message that we received about how the game was failing was a bit hurtful for the morale of the team, because we just finished working on 3.5 years and we're super committed to creating a very good game. So of course it was not the kind of message we wanted to receive back in those days. The Mario and Rabbids stuff, Chris, is interesting because I thought those 2 games were really, really good, and I thought it was maybe spark a new era of like Nintendo working with other publishers. But see, looking back, do you think that deal for the first Mario and Rabbids was signed in the Wii U era when they were shitting themselves, and then when Switch made them the biggest thing in the world, they were like, well, we obviously don't need to do this, and why would we work with anyone else?
Quite possibly, because he speaks about in their interview, which everyone should read. Andy did a massive interview with him, and it's fantastic. He said that when they was working on the first one, like nobody was bothering them. So it's almost as if, like you say, if the deal was maybe done during the Wii U era, and it must have been given how early the first one came out in the Switch's life, it seems like nobody was expecting much from it, so they just left him to do what he wanted. They just said, "Fucking go wild, do what you like." And he said that developing the second one was trickier because the first one was such a big success. The kind of higher ups at Ubisoft were kind of breathing down his neck for the second one, saying, all right, make sure this is in it, make sure that's in it. And that kind of made it a bit trickier. But yeah, it's a weird one. I've always been, I love those games, but something just feels off to me about it, because the number of kids who must have had those games bought for them because they were Mario games, especially because we're being sold quite cheaply for a while. And parents buy them a new Mario game, and then the kids are just fucking bamboozled by like a turn-based strategy game. So I've always kind of felt kind of bad for those kids who were expecting a new Mario game and then got something they just didn't get along with. But do
you think it was because those games were Ubisoft priced and not Nintendo priced, so that they could fluctuate to being like a tenner, whereas any Mario game stays at 50 quid forever?
Yeah, so those were any parents looking for a cheap Mario game would almost invariably pick Mario and Rabbids, and then that's why it sold like 400 million or whatever it was. Yeah, it's a shame though, because like it can't be good when the company comes out and says, when your publisher comes out and says, well, this died in its arse, what's going on? And by all accounts, it's still selling. Like, it's just been a really slow burner, and it was an excellent game. It's just, yeah, I feel for them, but they've kind of set up a new studio now and seem to be happy, so that's good.
The era in which this happened, I feel like, is the same era in which Donkey Kong was in Skylanders, and where Nintendo was getting a little bit more footloose and fancy free with who they were going to work with. So it's interesting. I think that obviously in the shadow of everything that's happened to Ubisoft in the past 2 years, 3 years, what could have possibly been enough sales for them? Like, it would have to have been gangbusters, but obviously that team is so talented, and Davide is like people have a lot of time for him because of the whole Miyamoto thing, and that I mean, Miyamoto turning up at Ubisoft, that feels like a totally different era now. Those games were cool. It's a shame we'll never, almost certainly not get another one of those. Mario spin-offs are a weird thing, because I think that the ones Nintendo have been doing recently aren't very good, and that makes me sad. I thought the last Mario Football was quite pish and very thin on the ground in terms of what you're actually doing. I feel like the last Mario Tennis was a bit rubbish, When was the last Mario Golf? Was that on Switch or was that the one that was on 3DS? Okay. Because I loved the 3DS Mario Golf. I thought that was an incredible game, but I can't remember loving the Switch one. So
the Switch one was good because it had that weird new mode where I really liked the Switch one. It had that mode where everyone teed off at the same time. Yeah, and then everyone ran. You ran about it and you could do power-ups. That was fun. The tennis was okay. The best Mario Tennis was on 3DS.
GameCube? Oh, okay.
Well, GameCube, but in recent years, the 3DS, because that was one you could get new outfits for your Mii and like you could actually unlock stuff. They released a Wii U Mario Tennis, which was abysmal. It's like
was that Aces?
There was nothing. I can't remember what it's called. They all kind of
Mario Tennis shite.
They should have been called Mario Tennis U, Mario Tennis 3D. Just make it easy to remember. I don't remember which one it was, but it was shite. It didn't have anything. It didn't have anything going for it. There were no modes. It felt like the most blatant of stopgaps just to get something on the Wii U. But yeah, so compared to that, the Switch one's fine. But you're talking Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance days; those were the best.
I was so disappointed by the most recent Mario Strikers because I remember loving that original one and then playing the new one at Nintendo. I was like, oh, this is fun. This has got like a bit about it. And then I realized that everything I played at Nintendo, that was like the entire depth of the game. You were just doing that over and over again. And I know you can say, well, don't you just do the same thing over and over again in FIFA? But it's totally different when there was like basically no single player progression. Like it was just
a progression system.
Yeah, especially in a Mario game like that. Like I wanted it to be a bit more weird. I wanted to unlock suddenly you're playing against a team of Miyamotos. Like I wanted it to be a bit strange, but it wasn't to be. Story number 4. I was right. This is a call out post to all the comments. All you sweaty little baldy bastards who told me that there was no way that Fable was going to get delayed. Microsoft would never say something and then not do it. I told you, your boys took a hell of a beating. Fable's coming out in 2026, Chris. Xbox Game Studios head Craig Duncan said on an official Xbox podcast, they showed a little bit of pre-alpha footage, which I thought looked pretty good. Game's coming out 2026. No day. It will be definitely worth the wait, according to Craig Duncan. Now, previously, I would have made fun of this, but Xbox have suddenly started putting out heavy good games, so I'm way more excited for this now.
Yeah, and that footage did actually look really good. Like it's one of those ones where, because obviously all they've been shown so far is cutscenes with really trailers with kind of mostly cutscenes and then like glimpses of gameplay. This is the first kind of reasonably decent glimpse of gameplay, and it looks the part. So if let them cook, I believe the youngsters say.
Contemporary.
So yeah, I'm happy to wait. Like you say, they've been starting to prove now that they're delivering banger after banger, as I keep saying, as the kids say. But So Avowed was good. Indie was good. What's next? South of Midnight looks good. Doom's going to be good. Doom is going to be good. So. Yeah, it's come a bit too late this generation, but
for this generation, for this platform,
for this industry, but yeah, so but Xbox has finally kind of found its rhythm. So if it's not ready in time, good. Let them keep at it because it's looking good so far. Let's not.
And also, nothing's coming out at the end of this year. If GTA is coming out, you have no idea just how barren the wasteland will be. See if Rockstar say October 5th the game's coming out, everything is gone. If you're not a sports game that has to come out for licensing reasons, you are gone. Like there's no reason to release, because first of all, even games that are released in quiet periods aren't selling enough now. Next to GTA 6 is going to be I think most publishers will be very upfront about the fact that like we're not releasing the game next to GTA 6, so if you're not.
Yeah, you can crunch all year and slam it out for late 2025 just to say you kept your promise, or you can say, look, let's realistically take a few more months, add more polish, add some of this stuff we were going to put aside for patches. Let's just kind of focus on that, and when things quieten down a bit, and then we'll just release it. So on paper, it's bad. It's always not bad, but it's always a shame when games get delayed. But like you say, everyone's going to be too busy with GTA, they're not really going to care anyway by that time. Like it's all right say in February now saying, oh, that's no good, but come October, if that was still a late 2025, people wouldn't be paying it a blind bit of attention.
That's why I think Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2 are either like late summer, so like Augusty time, or they are like December, or they get chucked because everyone is so weary about what will, let's be honest, be the biggest game ever made, the best selling game in term like it. We will be writing stories the day that comes out, being like, yeah, it's already the highest selling entertainment property ever. Like it's going to be a joke of a game. So no one wants to release alongside it. I can't wait. But the excitement of a GTA is just unmatched. Like I was just starting to kind of do this when GTA 5 came out, so I'm really keen to see just how much of an industry shift it is. You know what I don't want to hear, Chris Gillian? I'm not going to open social media when GTA 5 drops, because there's going to be the worst people ever being like, one, GTA's gone woke, or two, GTA's right wing now. The secret is GTA was always woke. In the same way that South Park has always been woke. Like, it is satire. Like, people just don't. People play GTA and they think that the characters are the good guys. It's like people that watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and be like, oh yeah, these are the good guys. They are deficient in the brain department. I hope that they do what they did in Edinburgh for GTA 5 and do the big plaster around the side. They did it for Red Dead as well, like plaster around the side of Rockstar. I don't know. I've only been down to the new Rockstar office like once or twice. I don't think they have like a big glass display like they did in the old one.
No, I don't think they did. I've not.
Because it's down at Holyrood.
That's right, because the old one was down near the Omni. In Edinburgh, and that was like you could kind of see the Rockstar logo as you went past. Maybe that's one of the reasons they moved. Like tourists going down a bus could quite clearly see the Rockstar logo and go, "Oh, they probably got a load of hassle." But I don't think they do now. I don't think they've got. So yeah, but I would imagine, I don't doubt there'll be billboards all over the place. We were
literally right next to the Rockstar office at that science museum thing for that. And I didn't realise until I'd left because of the angle we came in, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we're literally at Rockstar now." The old one was near the Playhouse, and me and my pal went to see We Will Rock You or something like that. And afterwards, we walked past, and I'm like, "Oh, this is Rockstar!" So we cupped our eyes up against the window, and we could see like the front desk, which just had a big R logo on it, and then the fire door to like the next area, and we could see a 360 that was on, and we're like, oh, it's going to be on the 3. Everyone knew it was going to be on the 360 at this point. This was like GTA 4 or whatever. Something magical about that place. I really like the fact that they don't let anyone in. See, when they let the BBC in, not me, when they let the proper BBC in to do like a Red Dead thing, I was like, I don't want to know what the inside of Rockstar looks like. This is destroying the magic. It's the same way I don't want to see inside Nintendo anymore.
And the fact that they've been sworn to like, for fear of death, to secrecy. Like, there's somebody that I know quite well who said her best pal was a costume designer at uni and all that kind of stuff, and is now like kind of one of the main costume designers on GTA 6. And she was saying, oh, they had a night out the other night, and they're saying, oh, come on, what costume? He's like, no, I can't, I absolutely can't, because they're terrified anything, even just like what kind of tops are in the game, like could leak, and then that's them like absolutely shot out a cannon in the 1 o'clock gun in Edinburgh Castle. So they're all absolutely terrified, and I think that's the best environment to make a game, is that all the staff have to be absolutely terrified for their lives. I think that's the most fruitful.
I will say, young students that are just starting out, maybe less concerned about their existence, but you know. Anyway, I'm looking forward to playing that. That would be a real special thing. Story number 5 is definitely Tony Hawk's 3 and 4. Not just because the website says so, but Tony Hawk has been out there saying new parks are loading. Oh, he put a photo up with the boys. I can't wait, Chris. Put this out the now. I would stop this podcast and go and play it the now. Can't wait. No.
When do you think it'll be out? Because it's not going to be
summer. This is June. This is June because this is on the Nintendo Switch 2.
Listen, I wouldn't put it past them. I'd be there day one. Well, that's
we know when the Switch 2 is coming out, Chris. It's coming out May 15th, the day that Doom comes out, because that's a launch game for it.
May the 15th be with you.
Exactly. May the 15th be Switch 2. That's what the campaign is going to be on buses everywhere. They're going to have to bring back the bendy buses because it's such a long slogan.
That's a stretch, but I'm all for it. Yeah. But yeah, like it's odd because you think like back to the GBA launch for the Tony Hawk game, the PSP had a Tony Hawk game around about launch. So yeah, this is very much a Ridge Racer series and often kind of launches alongside systems. So yeah,
how are they going to do 4, Chris? How are they going to do 4? Because 3, I know I can look at 3 in my head. Also, I'm really worried Bam Margera's not going to be in it, but we'll get to that when it comes out. That'll be the breaking news. I'm going to hound Activision every day after this gets announced, being like, Bam Margera, yes or no. 4 is the one that I'm interested to see how they do it.
Because of the kind of more open worldiness of it?
Yeah, because it's not a totally different thing, but it is a mechanically different thing. Like, it would almost make more sense to do 1, 2, and 3 together and then do like 4. Was it 4 Thug and Thug 2? Was that the chronology?
Yeah, and then American Wasteland.
Yeah, then in my head it goes 1, 2, and 3 as a collection, then 4 Thug and Thug 2 are a collection, and then it gets into the 360 era with those couple.
Wasteland Proving Grounds Project 8.
Yeah,
that it's weird. I just as long as 4, because you know the good thing about 1 and 2 was that they added the revert from 3, even though that wasn't in those games, and that kind of made 1 and 2 for me because it was like I was worried that because obviously 1 didn't even have the manual, or one had the,
1 is like it's hard to go back to 1 at this point.
Yeah. 2 added the manual, 3 added the revert, but when they remade 1 and 2, they brought the revert into both of them, so it kind of felt like a modern Tony Hawk game, like, so that was good. 4 was the one we could get off the board for the first time, is that right?
I think so. That might have been Thug, to be honest. I can't remember.
I saw it. 4 is the one that's the kind of the grey area for me. Let me just browse for a second. Hold on, because that was the one that departure of career mode is a free skate mode. There's no time. Right. So yeah, I think it'll be fine. They'll manage it. As long as they split them. As long as they split them as 2 separate things this time. Yeah. 1 and 2, the levels all just kind of join on to each other. 3 and 4, they would need to separate it as, do you want to play 3 or do you want to play 4? Or tell you what they could do is merge them all into one big package. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, I bet they will do that.
Hence new levels being loaded or whatever the loading screen said. I wonder if they'll basically, maybe it's DLC for 1 and 2.
I could see it being sold separately and as like the whole launcher. Maybe they're like, because everybody's got 1 and 2 at this point. Well, everybody that cares about Tony Hawk has 1
Activision's got its Call of Duty launcher. What if it's got a Tony Hawk launcher?
300 gigs.
It's going to add the rest of them later on.
That would be, honestly, I can't imagine anything I'd love more than for them to be like, right, we're doing 3 and 4. 2 years time, we're adding Thug and Thug 2. Like, Thug and Thug 2 would be difficult because they are story heavy. You would have to go and get people, including some unsavory characters at this point. So
here's the question though, and the answer is almost definitely no. Will 3 and 4 have the secret skaters? They'll have Doom Guy because he was in 3.
Doom, they'll have him. They will have him.
Definitely have him.
Yeah.
They probably won't have Wolverine.
Probably not. I bet they'll have it on the PlayStation version.
They probably won't have Darth Maul. And then
yeah, maybe not.
And then in 4, they probably won't have Jango Fett.
Yeah.
And they might have Eddie from Iron Maiden.
Yeah, potentially.
But that's pretty much it. Like it's a shame because Jango Fett had the jetpack move, which completely broke the game. And that's probably another reason why he wouldn't be in it. Licensing aside, is because if you're going online for high score gaps and stuff like that, Jango Fett breaks it.
You know who they could have? They dip into the Microsoft family, put a Call of Duty guy, put Soap McTavish in there, put Minecraft Steve in there, like make it weird, like put a car for Forza
Blinks the
in there.
Time Sweeper.
Yeah.
A car for Forza on a skateboard.
The thing that is most important is will they keep the entire soundtrack, because 3 and 4 has incredible songs. Chris, let me tell you, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, we've got Ramones, Let's Quick Up, which is an incredible start. We also have Motorhead, the Ace of Spades, and most importantly to me,
Ace of Spades,
the definitive skateboarding song, in my opinion. 96 Quite Bitter Beans by CKY. If they don't have that, don't bother. I know it's done at this point, but it's either not licensed CKY, they can get TF. Oh.
It's Ace of Spades all day long for me though. That's just like that good. Was that, or was Rage better as the opening theme?
I think Ace of Spades is an amazing song divorced from skateboarding, whereas I think that the songs that need skateboarding, I think, are better. You know what I mean? I'm not going to listen to Superman on a whim, but when it's in the context of Tony Hawk, it works. You know what I mean?
That's true.
The soundtrack for 4 is also very good. It's got TNT by AC/DC.
Damn right. Did you know, you'll know this, that they had to heavily change the airport level in 3?
Oh, yeah.
Because it came out a month after.
Yeah, because one of our favourite subjects, yeah.
Yeah, and it originally had terrorists in that level, and they were like, let's take them out.
I think it's been enough time, they're going to restore it to its original glory.
I know, I got a director's cut.
Yeah.
That was awkward. But
the soundtrack to 4 is amazing. It's got Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. It's got Express Yourself by NWA. It's got Anarchy in the UK by the Sex Pistols. I mean, I imagine they get as many of these back as are not £1 billion. Because they were pretty. I can't remember at the top of my head what was missing from 1 and 2, but the ones that you needed to hear were all there. Like, it starts with Superman and Rage. So
Express Yourself's an absolute belter.
I think that's maybe.
I've expressed myself with full capabilities, and now I'm living in correctional facilities. What a line.
Some might not agree with how I do this. I get straight meditate like a Buddhist.
Yeah. I always wonder what NWA stood for, but I'll look it up later.
Story number 6. This is very much in our wheelhouse as well. They're doing new Les Paul guitars for Rock Band and the Fortnite thing. CRKD, which
the press release to say the Fortnite thing.
Every time CRKD appears in my email, I think CD Projekt Red. Like, is this a Witcher thing? The Gibson Les Paul guitars are, as you might expect, formed after the guitar itself and look like the Guitar Hero 3 guitar. They're doing 2 versions, an Encore and a Pro. The Encore edition comes with standard strum and fret buttons and will cost about 110 bones. The Xbox version costs 120 for some reason. Why is that?
I'll explain this in a bit. It's a mess. It has to be a mess, but it's a fucking mess. Okay. But do your bit and then I'll...
The Pro comes with an advanced... The Pro comes with an advanced fret system and a mechanical fretboard, which will cost 120 bones, and the Xbox version is 130. Chris, why? Is this the Xbox tax I'm always hearing about?
Let me clarify this, right? So for some reason, for a reason which is probably either Sony's fault or Xbox's fault, it's currently impossible to make a controller that works on both the PlayStation and the Xbox.
Okay.
Just because of the way each interface is, and I've spoken to peripheral manufacturers in the past about why can you not just have one with a Switch that 1 minute it works on the Xbox, next minute it works on PlayStation, and apparently there's some sort of proprietary reason why you're not allowed to do that. It can be done, but you're not allowed to, basically.
Okay.
So you need, if you're releasing a controller these days, there has to be a PlayStation version and there has to be an Xbox version. Now, let me just bring up the 2 pages I need here, because this gets difficult.
Right, folks, make yourself a cup of tea. This is the next hour of this show.
If you're looking to buy a Gibson Les Paul guitar controller, the obvious stuff, like you said before, is there's a kind of Encore version and a Pro edition. So the Encore is like a normal guitar. The Pro, it's like an old school kind of Guitar Hero guitar. It feels like those. The Pro one has got fancier, clickier buttons, and the strum thing is Hall effect. and you can also customize the sensitivity. So if you want like just tapping it to strum, or you want more of a strum, so that's more customizable. They've both got a wee analog stick at the top with buttons all around it, so you can kind of control menus and modern game stuff.
That's what the whatever the one that PDP did. They have that kind of analog stick.
So there's that, and on the back of the head, whatever, I'll also include up my guitar.
To be fair.
The head has a D-pad on the back of it, so you can control stuff in that. So that's that. That's the easy bit. So you either got a basic one or a fancy one. That's it. The Xbox version, right, works on Xbox One and Xbox Series S.
I've heard of them.
It's officially licensed Xbox controller, so it plays. Let me just scroll down here to see the list. I'm checking here. It can play Fortnite Festival and Rock Band 4.
Okay.
On both those systems. It's also got a PC mode, which lets it work on Clone Hero in YARG or YARG. I don't know how you're saying it. And it's also got an Android Bluetooth mode. That's it.
Right.
It can't do PlayStation stuff or anything like that because it's not allowed to. The Encore, no, the multi-platform version. So that's the Xbox version, which costs more. The multi-platform version, which costs like a $10 or less, also works on PC, so it can also do Clone Hero and stuff like that. But it's got a legacy mode, which works on PS3, which means it plays all the Guitar Heroes, all the Rock Bands, Band Hero.
Band Hero featuring Taylor Swift.
Well, they've got the list. They've said it works with Rock Band 4 on PS4 and PS5, but it also works with, I say all of them. It works with Guitar Hero 3, Guitar Hero World Tour, Guitar Hero Aerosmith, Metallica, and Smash Hits, Guitar Hero 5, Band Hero, Guitar Hero Van Halen, Guitar Hero Van Halen, Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock, Rock Band 2, Rock Band 3, Beatles Rock Band, Green Day Rock Band, Lego Rock Band, and the best of them all, Rock Band Blitz. So basically, unless you've got Rock Band 4 on the Xbox, get the other one. Basically, because it works on everything except Xbox, essentially. Unless you're an Xbox devotee, get the other one.
So you'll be getting the Xbox one then?
I don't know.
Chris, here's the thing. I got the PDP one. I played Clone Hero for a few nights, and then I've not picked it back up. You know why? Because I realised that the thing that I like doing in music games now is it's been a long time since it was actually the guitar. I'm a drum man. I would love for one of these companies, and I know they did them back in the day, but they're impossible to get now. I don't want to use my Rock Band 4 kit with the cymbals because I have battered them, and I'm worried that they are like sessions away from being destroyed.
Yeah.
200 quid for a fancy kit that like this works on everything. I would buy that in a heartbeat, but it feels like this is the people like the guitars. Let's get the guitars out and test the water, and then maybe one of these companies does a drum kit at some point. Yeah.
So in your case, PDP stands for permanent display piece.
Oh, very good. Well, shall we just end the podcast there? That's as good as it's getting.
Thanks.
I mean, in about for the space of 5 minutes, we went from 9/11 to that, so I think the swings in quality are quite unbelievable.
Covered the full gamut.
Yeah. If you want more of the gamut, if you want more of this incredible podcast, you can check out patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle. The podcast with CMB is a real joy. The normal version is in this very feed, so go and listen to that if you've not already. It's also on YouTube. The little extended bonus clip, which is like 25 minutes of us talking about absolute garbage, is on patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle. For all tiers also get ad-free browsing on the website, which I failed to mention, which Andy will be thrilled about. But until next week, Chris, me and you have got a date tomorrow night. We've got a date with a video game tomorrow night.
We do. I'm hoping that I'm ready for it because I've had a new PC sitting in the hallway for almost a whole week now and not been had time to set it up. So first thing in the morning, I'm off to see Disney on Ice tonight, which is why I'm wearing a t-shirt of Mickey Mouse eating an ice cream. Disney on Ice. So I can't set it up until tomorrow. So assuming it actually sets up properly, then I'll be there. Otherwise, I won't actually have a PC with which to interact with you.
I'm sure it'll be
figure
fine.
it out. It'll have a mic on my PS5, so
it'll either be a really nice setup, or it'll be Chris's phone up in a corner somewhere,
just crying because my PC doesn't work.
But we'll work out anyway. Comments, questions, concerns, energy drink sponsorships, the podcast at videogameschronicle.com.
Not Dynamo, though.
Not Dynamo.
If you're the fine people at Dynamo, do one.
Run it up your ribs, as Chris Killian once said. Thank you to the great Grant Kirkhope for the VGC podcast theme. Say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye, Chris.
And we'll see you next time.